I think it is funny and ironic to be the wife guy who doesn't have a wife.
Is wife guy really your ultimate, peak life, or would you actually rather be the guy who chained 9s and 10s for your whole life?
Can I defend my my honor even if they're not attacking me along this line?
They've been attacking you the whole time.
Excellent, perfect.
Okay, how's it going, Connor?
It's okay. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Have you been following anything that's been popping off today?
I have.
Any thoughts on that before we get into the rest of it then?
Sure. Is what happened, they found some Discord where two creators were talking about they were trying to find figure out whether or not Tectone had an alt, but because they were using open source intelligence tools, Destiny and Dan were asserting that this is evidence of
doxing,
the gay ops operations
of doxing specifically
community against DGG.
Yeah, doxing specifically, but yeah, basically.
Okay. Yeah, I would obviously like to see, based off of the allegations that they're saying the commentary community has been going after them and specifically responsible for doxing or swatting, I obviously would love to see something more substantive than that.
Awesome. Wow, great to hear. Great to hear.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, any other thoughts on it, or is that basically all you've got to say about it?
No. It was good to see the band get back together.
Oh yeah.
I was happy to see Chud Logic back in orbit. That was fun.
Yeah, I don't think that's gonna stay that way, to be honest. But
I know I'm around.
Okay. So right, we're here to talk about your divorce, Connor. Mainly, I think.
Yes.
Which you obviously the other day you spoke on stream quite extensively about your divorce and the sort of fallout from that. What do you think is sort of like the reaction that's gotten? I spoke to you briefly about it in DMs. I think you said something about it, but how do you feel about the reaction? I know a lot of people have actually covered that, which I'm sure, most of us probably don't get covered a lot, but I've actually seen a lot of people covering your divorce story. I saw Mrao covering it. I saw this guy Nos covering it. I saw Chud covering it. Everyone's been over it. Everyone's been over it. So
yeah, I kind of feel like it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. I understand I probably overshare compared to a lot of other creators, but I've always been very open about my personal life. So if you're going to be open about the W's, I think you need to be open about the L's as well. So I'll try to be as open as I can be.
Yeah, my sort of, just tell you where I was at with it. I did say, why would you put this on the internet? Because it is sort of like in a mocking way, kind of how Chud says it. Because it is a bit, a lot of it is a bit TMI. But broadly, I don't actually have an issue with, someone being quote unquote vulnerable or open online. It's more when, if someone's going to be vulnerable and open, do the whole like, here's some embarrassing information about me, please don't bully me with it. That's sort of when I find it a bit embarrassing. But I don't think you're really doing that, so.
No, I'm not saying the please don't bully with it with me afterwards. It's more of like, and truth be told, this is the way that I was thinking about it too, is like I do watch your streams on occasion. I watch Chud Logic a decent amount of the time. And I think you said, oh, Connor telling people how to live, the fucking wife guy over here. And I was thinking to myself, it's like, I was proud of having a family. I am proud of having children. I am proud of my life in general. So if I'm, like I said, if I'm going to be sharing the W's and also, telling people what I think is right, then I have to share the L's too. Otherwise, it's just fucking dishonest.
I wouldn't say it's necessarily dishonest, but I understand that, if you can't keep presenting yourself as a wife guy, obviously, if you're divorced, that would be dishonest.
Sure.
At some point you have to say, I'm not really a wife guy anymore, so.
Well, here's the thing though. I'm still spiritually a wife guy, So just because I don't have a wife doesn't mean that I don't think that you should have a partner, be loyal, try to put their try to have long-term interests with each other, et cetera, et cetera. So that's still
spiritually a wife guy with no wife. Okay, I see.
Yeah.
I see. Okay. So you felt like, because I'd say, anyone can give life advice. Ultimately, it's just, you should know a little bit about them to tell whether you should listen to it or not. So I don't really see, I disagree with Chud that you shouldn't ever give any advice because you said you should be a wife guy and then your marriage fell apart or whatever the fuck. Because, ultimately, if you've told your audience that, then they can, take it or leave it, really, based on what they think of your life. So I don't really agree with that at all. But yeah, I guess I wanted to get in some more of the kind of specifics, because you sort of cite in the stream, you say online politics, this job was a big part of that. Could you elaborate on that at all?
Yeah, so I'll try to keep it brief. I love online politics. I love the schizophrenia. I love the battles of personalities, the current events, the news, all that kind of stuff. And basically, when this was a hobby, I don't think it was as big a deal in my relationship at all, really, because it was just a hobby. It's just a side hustle. But as I've evolved and I went full time as a content creator last year, I think that, that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about clashes of personalities, current events, news, all that kind of stuff. And so, since it sucked in a healthy chunk of my personality, it wasn't like a causative factor. I wouldn't even put it in like the top three reasons why we're not together. But it's definitely something that we talked about for
It
sure.
was sort of like the first one you mentioned, though, when you were bringing up reasons. You did the first thing you went for was it's online politics, it's this job.
I mean, it's not.
Was it sort of like just fresh in your mind,
Um,
or was it?
I mean, I would say it's up there. It's probably not the main reason, but it's definitely a reason.
Were there any specific disagreements that came up as a result of that? As a result of the content, is that something you're willing to get into, or?
um, well, somebody asked me that in chat earlier, and they were like, "Do you think it was because of destiny?" No, it's not because of
No, I'm
destiny.
sure some people would
And,
have
and,
loved
and
to
I
have
was kind
heard
of
that your marriage fell apart because you were sweeping for destiny, but I was a bit skeptical on that. I'll be real.
no, 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 no. I would say that, funnily enough, as much as it's quote unquote destiny, it's everybody, right? So it's Destiny, it's Lauren, it's Kyla, it's President Sunday, it's you, it's Chud Logic, it's Demon Mama, it's Vosh. Because we're I'm it's a space filled with antisocial, autistic, political spurgs yelling at each other. Um, yeah, and so that's not always everybody's cup of tea, I suppose.
I mean, I was looking through some of your VODs, and the day after Charlie Kirk died, you said you had a massive argument the day before, and I just wondered if that was at all relevant.
Did I say I specifically had a massive argument
Yeah,
with the
yeah. So,
wife?
so the day after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, you have a VOD where you talk about how you just had a massive argument with your extended family and your wife, and you left it at sort of like a conciliatory point, but it wasn't fully resolved.
So I don't think that was like a reason for our fracture, but I'll tell you her perspective and my perspective, and the family's perspective. So her extended family is pretty conservative, and so they basically believe that Charlie Kirk was, and they fuck him. Yeah. Anyways, they basically like bought into the line of like Charlie Kirk was a saint and he didn't do nothing, and the MAGA movement didn't do nothing. Victoria had a little bit more of a Luigi Mangione take of like, well, it's bad that it happened, but I understand why. I was probably uh, a little bit calmer than she was, and a little bit less like making excuses, I suppose, of it. But I would say I'm also of the it's bad, but that's our political climate right now. So I actually don't think the wife and I specifically like really split super hard on that topic.
Oh, so that was just like that was an argument more between you and your wife versus her extended family then, or her in-laws, or
Yeah.
your in-laws.
Yeah, and then also I have a little brother. I don't think I specifically talked to him about it, but basically on his Facebook posts, he was echoing the martyr complex that I
You
basically knew
killed
I
the
couldn't talk to
moderate,
him because
etc., sort of thing.
it would have resulted in a knockout dragged out fight. So I just didn't even broach the topic with him.
Right, fair enough, fair enough. There was something I was about to ask off the back of that, but I just immediately lost it. You were saying You disagreed with the extended family about child care. Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. So was it sort of like wrapped up in sort of like concerns about your safety, or was that not a factor that was really coming up? Because I can imagine
No,
sort of like if you're
it
involved
is.
in online politics, you're talking about that sort of thing, they might be like, oh, why are you saying this stuff? Because you
Again,
might get
I
targeted,
wouldn't
or
put that as, I wouldn't put that as top 3 to 5, but I would say that that's obviously something that we discussed about because, Steven's been doxxed, Steven's been swatted, Kyla's been doxxed, allegedly, okay? Kyla's immigration status has been fucked with. I think Hutch got doxxed at some point, PV doxxed all the public information, all that kind of stuff. So I've had like a really cavalier attitude about like public information and people knowing who I am and where I am and all that kind of stuff. I don't think she shared my sense of being cavalier about that.
right? Okay. Was it? So you mentioned I was having to quit law enforcement as part of the relationship at some point. What
Yeah,
was that sort of like? Did that? Um, I
I
don't
would put
necessarily
that
want
top
I don't
three.
necessarily want to say bitterness, but maybe like some sort of bitterness that you felt over that decision carried over into this new argument over your career now, or
Yes,
yeah,
just owning that 100%. So law enforcement, I analogize it to being in love with like a toxic girlfriend. You can know that you can be in love with something that's bad for you. And that's the way that I felt about law enforcement. I was truly in love with the job. I thought it was cool. I wanted to become a detective. I applied for being a detective as I was leaving. And there was 6 months there towards the end where she was saying like, "Hey, this isn't good for us. This isn't good for our family. You need to move on." And I tried to fight her on it, and I ended up leaving because the family is more important than the job. But yeah, that 100%. That was something that like I articulated this to her, so I'm not saying anything new to you. That she acknowledged that it was a big deal, but I don't think she understood how deep that like really cut me that I had to give up what was one of my dream jobs. And it's not that I wouldn't do it for my family. I would do it a million times. But when it comes to this career as well, I'm staying at home. I'm making good money. I'm arguably making better money than I was when I was working for a corporation. It is unstable. It is a little bit more crazy, but I'm infinitely happier. So when she was expressing that she wasn't happy with this job, I kind of did tell her it's like I don't think it's the job. I don't think that's the problem.
right, okay. Um, I don't know if I feel like that could still. I mean, obviously, I don't know your relationship. Just from what you're saying, though, it sounds like it could be about the job, but it just seems like you weren't willing to do that twice. I'm not faulting you for that. I probably would. I wouldn't quit this for a fucking relationship. That's for fucking sure. But
Well,
it does
well,
sort of
yeah,
sound like you
and
just weren't
that's
willing to do it twice, basically.
yes, and she, I agree with you that she can have justified anxieties and resentments and criticisms of this job. Obviously, this job has a lot of positives. It also has a lot of negatives. But I think that at some point, this is my personality,
Yeah.
and so as a result, you either like that or you don't.
Yeah. Sure. Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Um, I was gonna say some other stuff sort of came up as people were looking through stuff. There was that old clip of you on Adam and Sitch where you're on your way to pick up the kids and you're like having a very intense argument with them on the through your phone, and then I believe your wife is in the background and says, or your ex-wife now, in the background and says, basically, oh, you have this argument while you're picking up kids up from school, really, or something like that. So was stuff like that, was that
Yeah,
coming
that
up, or
So that didn't come up that much, but obviously that's not even the only time that that
of
happened,
course, yeah,
where
well,
familial responsibility conflicted with online screaming matches.
mhm.
So I do think, just being honest, yeah, like prioritizing online screaming matches while handling familial responsibilities was
Well, like
obviously
the time when
essential.
you were, I think you were arguing with chat about Lolly and you had your kid on your knee or something, I think.
Yeah, yeah, I know that that's probably, but to me, like, you have to understand it from my perspective. So that might, from an exterior perspective, people can obviously be critical of that. But my argumentation is earnest. My desire to take care of familial responsibilities is earnest.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying to conflate inappropriate subject matter with raising young families. But I also feel like it's unfair to get criticized by a bunch of like childless people over like, oh, well, you're involving your family with schizophrenic internet drama. And it's like, yeah, because I have to handle both simultaneously. So yeah, so
Yeah,
I
no,
don't
I'm
really
not
take
drawing any
things.
hard judgment on that. I just, I can imagine that sort of
Sure.
thing being an issue. I know once as
Yes,
well you
people
were,
have thrown elbows about that in the past, and it's probably partially true.
um, yeah, and then I think there was another one where you were saying something about sexual development or lolly, and your wife like cracked the door and shouted something in, and you
Yeah,
were
she's
sort of
like,
like
"What the
arguing for a
fuck?"
little bit.
Yeah. No, well, and that's the thing too. The here's my thing about that too. So she met me when I had gotten out of the Marine Corps. So I got out in 2010. We met in 2012. So we also met in the restaurant industry, and the restaurant industry was incredibly vulgar. There's a lot of sexual innuendo in the restaurant industry. There's a lot of vulgarity in the restaurant industry, all that kind of stuff. And she was a fairly vulgar person. So that's where like I feel like I said the stereotype, but I think it's true. Men get married expecting their wives will never change. Women get married expecting their men will change. I've changed obviously over the past 13 years, but I'm still a vulgar, lewd, abrasive, profane person. And she's not those things as much as she was when she was she's not those things compared to 15 years ago.
Got you. That makes sense. Um, I'm forgetting what else I had. I should have done notes, really, shouldn't I? I really should have done notes. Um. Oh yeah. Okay. So one thing I did see in your stream that was a bit, I did. It sent off massive cope alarm bells to me. Was you talking about how women act like chores are slavery and they have to do us cooking and cleaning, and then you say I'm fine cooking for myself. I go to Publix and pick up a sushi platter. That's I think you said something like that. It's like seemed a bit like cope to me, like you were still coping about some argument about the amount of chores being divided in the relationship, and that maybe you were underplaying how much effort it is to cook for like 4 or 5 people or whatever, and you're comparing that to the experience of now a single man just going and picking up food for himself.
It's yeah, I agree with that. The thing about it is though, that might be coming from a little bit of resentment. And the resentment is that for the past 5 years, so since March of 2020, she did not need to have a job. We were able to pay bills. And so I do think it's fair to categorize the fact, I think this is descriptively true, that a disproportionate amount of domestic labor fell on her. I have some conservative women in my life who have articulated that they didn't have that luxury, and therefore they had to keep up with an extreme amount of domestic responsibility and professional stuff. So yeah, there's probably some resentment there, and it could be cope. I could agree with that.
Okay, okay. I'm trying to think where else do we want to go with this. Some of the stuff about the dating profile stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. How about you? Since I'm unk and chopped, how about you? You coach me on the dating apps
I,
there,
I'm
and
I'm gonna be real. I'm not a very dating app guy. I don't really. I'm not a massive dating
Okay,
app
hold
user.
on. Let me meme a little bit since I'm the one getting pressed in the interview. What? Okay, you and I have had a very mixed relationship, hostile
Say the
friendly.
least. Say
Let's
the
put it.
least. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so I guess my question is, if I'm coming on here in order to talk to a drama streamer to be most vulnerable about my life, what is your longest romantic relationship that you've had?
Oh man, I don't think I've ever said that on stream. Do I want to share that piece of personal information?
I mean,
Am I willing
I'm
to?
out
Am I willing to
here
share that? Let me
naked.
think about this.
Hold on,
Oh,
before you do,
yep, go for
let
it.
me say this as a fraternal offering, okay? I'm out here naked in the wind, allowing everybody to criticize my personal life, and I'm asking you. This is the only. I mean, I could ask more questions, but I'm asking at you something so simple, effectively, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
have you had a romantic relationship greater than a few months?
So yes, yes, I have. Okay, this is what I say. I've had sort of like a cumulatively with one person several years, but it was on and off, but lasted for a year or two at a time. So that's like so quite a significant amount of time with one person at some point.
Okay.
That's what I'll say. That's what I'll say. So I have had long lasting relationships. I'm not coming to this as some actual incel. Okay, I'm not.
I could say a compliment, but I'm not trying to make the tone weird. So
Yeah, yeah.
keep going.
So I mean, well, that's you asked me. You just asked that question. I didn't know what a question was for.
Well, the question is to point the exterior perception outside of commentary is that commentary likes to throw elbows about other people's personal lives while not really having a personal life of their own of any like notable worth. And so while I think it is funny and ironic to be the wife guy who doesn't have a wife, I did make a 15-year run of a single relationship, and I do have 2 children with whom I continue to plan to have a good relationship. So, that's kind of the thing. It's like ideals are ideals for a reason. There's something to shoot for, but very oftentimes you're gonna fail.
Sure, sure. I think maybe what people see in that though is it's like you you propose the wife guy path as like the best path, but it's like it doesn't seem like for everyone it is, even for you it's sort of like you start considering like a slutty phase. You say that you would just get a Ukrainian mail order bride if your family wouldn't judge you for it. You say, if you could
Well,
just
that to be
if
fair,
if
that would
you're
be
in the
me trying to be a
position where you
life
could
guy
just fuck
again.
eight nines and tens for the rest of your life, you would do that. You would chain fuck eight nines and tens for the rest of your life. So it doesn't seem like even to you really is wife guy really your ultimate, peak life, or would you actually rather be the guy who chain fucks eight nines and tens for your whole life?
Well, see, that's interesting because when I was 25, I came to this realization that what I want and what is pleasurable doesn't always make me happy. And so this is something that I've tried to communicate to Steven. So just because I'm a male who would love to be a billionaire who, like you stated, chain fucks eight, nines, and tens in perpetuity, that's not a real life. And that's not how the world works. And so, just because that's like a fantasy doesn't mean that that's reality. And so I think people who try to live that reality often bump up into very bitter consequences.
Um, sure. That I mean, I wouldn't disagree that a lot of those people probably do have turbulent romantic relationships, but I don't necessarily see that as being a worse life necessarily. It could be that some people actually, enjoy the meeting someone, the falling out with them, as long as they're not doing anything necessarily wrong to the person or hurting them deliberately. I don't really see why that's a worse or less valid life to lead than.
Well, this is where you're going to be a liberal or a leftist, and I'm going to be a little bit conservative. I think that the perpetuation of the human species is something that I value. I think having like a genetic legacy is something that I value. I don't think that that lifestyle is conducive either to having children or raising well-adjusted children, which is why I would look down on that
So
lifestyle.
you'd say it's like a social good thing that you should, continue the human race and make sure that the next generation's good and all this shit, right?
Yeah, and you should prioritize that over your desire to chain fuck eight, nines, and tens.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I don't totally hate that perspective, but I think when people are looking for sort of like um life advice, like most people aren't maximizing their life to have the ultimate maximum moral impact, and they're simply trying, get through each day without feeling like total shit. So I think when you're
I
giving
agree. Can
life
I say
advice, it
something
almost
too?
yeah, go for it.
So you and I operate in the Twitch and YouTube political space, right? And we obviously have these like larger than life characters who live their lives in kind of extravagant ways. And I think a lot of the audience members are like envious of the way that those people live their lives. And so I would rather say what I say and do what I do and have the minimal impact that I have in the Twitch and YouTube political scene, rather than idealizing what I think is like nihilist hedonism, or even being like, you seem to be permissive of nihilist hedonism without judgment. You're like, well, it's, whatever makes you happy. Um, that's not my attitude. I think a lot of people who pursue nihilist hedonism, even if they get everything they want, they're miserable cunts. And I think people who live envious lives of nihilist hedonism that they're never able to fulfill, I also think they're miserable cunts as well, oftentimes.
So what age did you set the lowest on Tinder to and on Hinge?
22.
22. 22. Jeez, not brave enough for the 18 then. Not brave enough for.
Well, I
dropping to
didn't
18.
want to pull Steven. I didn't want to get hit by a 17-year-old pretending to be 18.
Okay. Okay.
Dude, if I get catfished by a 21-year-old pretending to be 22, that's okay. Or like a 20-year-old pretending to be 21, that's okay. If I get catfished by a 17-year-old pretending to be 18, that's going to be a problem.
It's going to be. So. That's true. That is true. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. So but it wasn't due to any moral thing about not dating 18-year-olds. You didn't feel like that would be wrong for you to do.
No. But so hold on. There's two concepts about that, because I do think that I want to moral frog a little bit.
Okay.
So I think that if there is like an ideal situation where, let's say that there's like a 19-year-old, they know what they want, they're physically mature, they're emotionally
sorry,
mature,
just before you go on, just quickly for yours, how old are you, Connor?
I'm 38.
Okay.
So I would literally be double that person's age, basically. So in this hypothetical scenario, if there was like this perfect person who was mature, knew what they wanted, knew that they wanted something short term, and then somebody in their 30s could hook up with them and then bounce away with no negative consequences, then no harm, no foul, so to speak. But when I was in my mid 20s, I did have a promiscuous phase, and I often found that the people that I was engaged with in nihilist hedonism, they were escaping trauma. They either had a fucked up childhood, or they were addicted to drugs, or they had fucked up relationships or something like that. And so I think the chances of you finding somebody with like trauma that they're coping with through promiscuous behavior is infinitely more likely than finding the former scenario that I described. And so therefore I would still, I don't think it should be illegal, but I would look down on it a little bit.
Got you. You don't feel like that's almost, there's almost some comparisons I can imagine to the idea of a Ukrainian mail order bride there, where she's coming from an exploited country.
Oh yeah, there's like horrific power dynamics,
impoverished a little bit, under attack. Yeah, so but you don't have an issue with doing that yourself, though, right?
War zone. Sorry, go ahead.
You don't have an issue with doing that yourself, though, right? That's the only issue I have with that is that your family would judge you.
Well, I mean, ideally, I would be finding like, and by the way, I am dating someone now seriously, and they're my age too, and I'm taking it pretty seriously. But in that scenario, yeah, it would be like somebody late 20s, early 30s, has a bachelor's, smart, all that kind of stuff, and then hopefully you could build like a real relationship out of it. But obviously, that's probably not that's not common in the mail order bride scenario either.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think those are the women who are signing up to be mail order brides are the ones with college degrees and.
I agree with you. That's probably not the norm.
Okay, so I had something in chat that jogged my memory a moment there, but
Well, hold on. So can I can't see chat, so I can't even get upset if people are saying rude things. Can I defend my my honor even if they're not attacking me along this line?
They've been attacking you the whole time.
Excellent, perfect.
So go for it.
So, yeah. So what I would say is, just because I think there's an ideal doesn't mean that I don't have all the temptations of any red-blooded male. So just because I consider stupid fucking ideas doesn't mean that I don't know they're stupid fucking ideas.
Okay, makes sense. That makes sense. Okay,
Yeah.
Connor, we're gonna do a quick test. Okay, this is a quick like live Tinder test. Okay,
Sure.
you're gonna tell me left or right. Okay, you're gonna tell me left or right.
Okay. Are you gonna share your
Yeah,
screen?
yeah. So Connor, would you like to left or right?
Hold on. You have to remind me because I was only on 2 weeks. The no category, the X category.
Left, left.
That's
Left
left,
is
right?
X. Yeah.
Left. Okay, yes, left.
Okay, okay. Left, left. Sorry, that's the only picture I had. Someone just really wanted me to do that, so I felt like I should probably I should do it.
No, thank you. No,
Okay,
thank
okay.
you.
Well, that's a good answer. That's a
Appreciate
good
it.
answer anyway. So
Yeah,
we're fine with
I
that.
appreciate it. No thanks.
Okay, so how do you think your life's sort of going to change? What are you doing different with your life now? Are you excited to be able to do anything more? Are you going to change how you're doing internet content creation? Like, what's your is your outlook changed to any of this stuff?
Yeah, so sorry, this is gonna be a little bit of an autistic speed run just because I'm doing a lot. So counterpoints 40K is my backstop. Counterpoint sci-fi and Star Wars, I'm working on. I'm trying to get up to weekly content. It's just difficult to keep up with it. And those I'm a third of the way onto monetization. I expect they'll be monetized by the end of the year. So those are going to be like my side hustle backstops that have nothing to do with YouTube politics. I'll be deadly honest with you since I'm already being vulnerable anyways. In the live stream genre, I have a very generous audience, but I'm hard stuck at 50 to 150 live viewers. And I don't like being hard stuck. It's fucking annoying as shit. So I feel like something needs to change. And all of my successful friends have found their niche. For instance, Josiah from Pondering Politics has found his niche. And I think I might need to move to pre-recorded content. So I've been talking about it. I've been thinking about it. I've been scripting shit. I'm thinking about doing the pre-recorded 10 to 15 minute yap 2 to 3 times a day model and seeing if that more fits my personality. So yeah, like I'm still going to be a digital media creator. I'm still making enough money in order to pay my bills. I'm still going to have the same schedule. But I do know that I'm kind of stuck where I'm at right now and I have to break through.
Right. You don't think, I usually, to me, I can see some immediate reasons why, some of your stuff isn't popping off. It's mainly, you're sort of secluded away on this Valor Media channel. A lot of your content when your big ticket content, which is like your big Destiny dramas, your big Hassan dramas, your big, whatever, big all eyes on this content dramas you're covering, seem to often devolve into like this autistic fighting with chat where you're pulling up MS Paint charts and graphs that look just insane to any onlooker.
Yeah. No,
Do you not think maybe like sort of, I guess to bring it around to more of a question, do you not think maybe going more, pushing the boat out a bit more would be the way to go about being more involved, being more in the mix?
yeah. Well, hold up. So there's two things that you described there. So I want to parse them apart real quick. So I watch your content. I watch Chud Logic's content. I watch Nick Diorio. I watch some other commentary people just because I enjoy the content naturally. But I think that what you guys are good at that I'm not, and I don't know if I want to be good at it, is you guys are really good at not only like following and letting like the content flow, but you basically like get in, you like throw a couple of punches and you get out, and then you let the content flow, so on and so forth. Whereas I seem to enjoy the autistic 5 to 10 minute yaps with chat and fighting and getting one guide and all that kind of stuff. Which I feel like that parasocial element is why I make a disproportionate amount of money compared to my stream size. But I think it makes for a horrible VOD viewing experience.
Right.
And so I've been chopping them up myself. And if you actually look at the Counterpoints Politics channel where I post my VODs, by chopping them out myself and basically limiting the autistic rants, I have increased viewership
Yeah, that would
substantially.
make sense. That would make sense. Yeah.
They are better as VODs, but that actually requires an additional level of effort that if I just shut the fuck up instead of going on 5 to 10-minute rants, then I could save myself a lot of work. I just don't know if I'm interested in doing that. When you talk about pushing the boat out, though, it sounds like you're almost saying you need to. Are you saying that you need to collaborate more? You need to
I
get
mean that's
into.
part of it, yeah, for sure. Collaborating is part of it, but I also mean just being more in the discussions as they're happening. If you know what I mean, like when there's stuff popping off on Twitter, or you're quote tweeting, you've got clips going out of you talking about this thing, being part of the discussion and having pointed criticisms for other people involved that you can try and hold them to, if you know what I mean. Just throwing the punches, throwing the punches. Yeah.
No, sorry, say that again.
It's
that might actually be very
throwing the
relevant.
punches, like you were saying. Really, is getting in there and throwing punches.
Yes. So that's another thing that I have a problem with, and it's not not trying to be a pussy about it, but like I like Chud, right? Obviously, I like Steven on a personal level. I like Kyla on a personal level. I like Wick on a personal level. I like a lot of these people on a personal level because they're Twitch and YouTube political autists. So I know that a lot of people do make money, get attention, and all that kind of stuff by, in my opinion, like if it was like a normal social circumstance, by behaving poorly. As a matter of fact, I think Steven is a perfect example of somebody who behaves poorly in a social circumstance, but he's able to capitalize on the negative social attention whenever he behaves poorly. Weirdly enough, I just don't know if I'm wired that way, which kind of sucks. I just might not have that dog in me to, like so. For instance, hold on, you might enjoy this. Did you watch? Have you watched Rob's Media's coverage of Xander Hall?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, well, I've watched your coverage of Xander Hall.
Okay.
When you're like dogging on him and you're like, fuck this guy, he's an idiot, low viewership, get raped. I hope you look like
I don't say that. I would never say that on a live stream. I would never say that on a live stream. I would only say that in DMs.
Okay. But okay, allow me to rephrase in case that's terms of service. Let's just say that you're throwing elbows. I feel bad, man. Like, it's funny, but it's like, it's fucked up. Like, you're punching a guy when he's down.
Well, you don't always have to punch people when they're down. Like, there are other ways to punch. You don't have to punch people when they're down. You can just, punch people when you've got a legitimate criticism for them, when you actually think someone's doing something wrong. But I feel like throwing the punches is important. Being seen throwing punches is kind of important to a lot of this live stream debate stuff.
So that actually, since we're talking content strategy, I don't know if that's the most interesting thing to chat, but I'll go ahead and go with it anyways. Weirdly enough, Hassan Piker is a horrible viewing experience if you just pull up his VOD to react to. Lot of dead air, lot of meandering, lot of geopolitical rants that feel 70% correct. But hating on like a specific Hassan Piker clip, he says some wild shit. It's fucking, you even get the context, you get the 5 minutes around the clip. Picking on Hassan Piker is obviously metrically good, I suppose. And then Nick Fuentes too. But the problem is, since I've been a heel in the Twitch and YouTube political scene for so long as like the quote unquote good Republican, I've attracted a 70% liberal audience, and they are so repulsed by the dissident right-wing content that they actually they bitch. They just endlessly bitch, like they don't enjoy the content. So I'm kind of like, this is where I'm stuck. I'll wrap this sentence up, I promise. This is where I'm stuck, where I feel like in order to do what I need to do, I have to start punching the far right and interacting with the far right. But my liberal base, upon whom I rely financially, they fucking hate that content. So my options are stagnate as the quote unquote good Republican, or grow but piss off my current audience. And I've been dreading making that move.
Right. Okay. Well, I mean, when I started questioning the or the Ethan Klein stuff about a year ago, I lost a bunch of people. So I mean, I so my perspective on all this stuff, it is usually just stick to your guns and piss people. You need to filter people, basically, almost like dating. You should be an abrasive, piece of shit on the first date, so they know exactly what you're
Yeah, but
like.
Kuihman, can you be anyone but you?
No, not really.
Right. So for instance, like you're kind of like going like, hey, from a content strategy perspective, bro, this is what I recommend. But could you have swept for Ethan Klein even if you wanted to?
No, I couldn't. But I'm just saying, I'm not even saying necessarily the greatest way to make money, but I feel like making, I don't want to totally denigrate you here, but you are sort of in a position where you're sort of, Destiny's Republican lapdog. That's sort of like the perception you're going to have from a lot of audience, and having a more distinct identity of your own, I think, would make you appeal to, because I feel like you've probably reached a saturation point with exposure to Destiny's audience. You've been on so many times. That's where I first saw you, was in hippy dippy panels back in the day. So I don't see that. The next step, I feel like, would be having a more distinct identity of your own, and being,
yeah,
actually
yeah.
push, like I say, pushing the boat out and risking pissing off a bunch of people to take that next step.
Well, this is gonna be Boomer, but weirdly enough, if it works, then I'll be hopefully reporting good news to you in about 6 months to a year.
Okay.
So the Rhino, the brand is Rhino, Republican who is honest, has integrity, nuance, and objectives, and then hitting the 10 to 15 minute one a day. Obviously, I'm gonna start with one a day, but if it works in the algorithm, then I'm gonna try to bump it up to 2 to 3 a day or whatever. And then, Josiah and the Midas Touch Bros and the Luke Beasleys and the, Adam Mocklers of the world, effectively what it looks like they do is they just spam 3 current events a day in 10 to 15-minute segments with like the party line. So 33% of Republicans are currently polling pretty negatively on Trump. And so I'm hoping that with the fracture of the Republican Party, my kind of Republican will become, they're never going to be super popular, but they'll become more popular again. And so there's going to be a civil war on the right that I need to capitalize on. So that's kind of like, you're saying I need to break out of the mold. I'm hard stuck. I'm saturated with DGG. I'm stagnant. Yeah, I agree with you. I am stuck, and I have to do something different unless I want to stagnate. And stagnation in this industry is obviously ultimately death.
Yeah,
So
that makes sense. That makes sense. I don't know that, I feel like being like the Uncle Tom Republican is I don't know how much mileage there is in that specifically. I don't know if there's like,
well, the other option, I could always do this. I could go, why I left the right. Turns out I'm a Democrat now. And then I could just fucking start sucking Tim Miller's cock on the internet. And then that'll probably be very lucrative. But the same way that you're built a certain way, so you can only do what you do. I look at that path and I don't
you're
see myself
disgusted.
doing it.
Yeah.
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 No. And I'm sorry, like I'm throwing a little bit of shit towards the bulwark people or whatever. But yeah, they went from, we're the never Trump Republicans, we're the moderate conservatives, we still believe in Republican ideals, to
We're
we
Democrats.
are functionally Democrats. So now you have to listen to us. And that's, I understand the resentment. I understand the resentment from Kyle Kalinske. I understand the resentment from Hassan Piker, because it's like, bitch, you were a fucking Republican 2 years ago,
Sure, yeah, that makes sense. I guess just the way I look at a lot of this stuff is, if you really want to change the way people are thinking online, you have to, sort of win the influence. You have to kind of take out some of the other people who are telling them what to think. If you know
Yeah,
what I mean.
but I did it one day and I felt so cringe. You remember when Hassan Piker tweeted out the shotgun meme for Tom Cotton?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Hassan Piker said, what is it? Like those, and I've gotten nuked on Twitter twice now. Last time was calling Megyn Kelly a fucking pedophile apologist. So Hassan Piker tweeted out, it's like, those who make peaceful revolution impossible make violent revolution inevitable. And I was like, I could be spicy on this. And I quote tweeted him with the fucking Shinzo Abe shotgun thing.
Uh-huh.
And then I was like, this isn't me. Like it's funny, but it's not me. So I deleted it.
I guess, yeah, I just, you have to do it as you. But yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
you're saying that's not the sort of thing you're good at, so.
I don't know how you are in your family. I'm a middle child, so I'm pretty used to, they talk about like middle child syndrome. It's like you want the attention, but you don't want to be a pussy about it. You don't want to like fucking cry about it or whatever.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I think I do have middle child syndrome where I do want the attention, I do want the money, I do want the clout, but I also don't want to be a fucking pussy about it. And sometimes when I see people acting out in order to get negative attention, I see children throwing tantrums, and it's not possible for me to unsee.
Okay, got you. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Any examples you can think of that sort of thing?
Yeah. So, Destiny. No, like so for instance, like I'll be specific though, that way if he watches the clip, he doesn't get super pissed off. But like the drowned teenage girls fucking God killed them because they didn't or they were
Oh, that
using
flood
NordVPN
shit
in order to
or whatever.
jerk off.
Yeah.
And they were like fucking 10 to 13-year-old drowned girls in Texas. I was like, this is very clearly a scream for negative attention. And I did not like that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can imagine why you probably would take issue with that comment. I can imagine why a lot of people would take
Yeah.
issue with that comment, to be honest.
Right.
Um,
Right. So am I jealous of 500 to 1,500 viewer live streamers who have established careers who are able to make six figures off of one channel? Absolutely. Am I willing to talk about adolescent girls jerking off and being murdered by God one day
I
after
don't think
tragedy for negative?
that's necessary to get. Like, I'm going to be totally honest, Connor.
Okay,
I
all right.
don't think that path is
I was just
necessary to
saying
get
there's
there.
limits out here.
Okay.
There's limits that I don't want to
Yeah,
cross.
no,
That's what
I
I'm trying
understand.
to
I
say.
understand. I'm just gonna chat. If you have any questions, start putting them in now because I'm gonna just try and jog my memory with some. I'm not gonna ask anything insane, so don't even bother with anything totally fucking retarded, anything about him getting cucked or stupid shit like that. Don't even bother.
Right.
So I'll ask real questions. But yeah, I mean, anything else you wanted to talk about while I just wait for questions to come in? Anything on your mind? Anything you wanted to bring up with me? Obviously, we've last time we spoke, we sort of accused each other of normalizing pedophilia and then left it at that. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I heard you speaking with Destiny earlier today. I'm happy you got the opportunity to do so. You were being quite, hyperbolic in that. How and the time that we spoke before that, you were basically saying like he's a sex predator who deserves to be on a list and blah 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 blah, and then
correct.
all that shit. So I guess my question is how? Okay, talking about should versus is and will. How do you feel about his current legal predicament?
I honestly, I don't understand it well enough to make a judgment about the success of the case. Obviously, I think he should be lose it. My loose understanding is it basically relies on the strength of the latest witness statement they've got or something as to whether it survives the next motion or whatever. I don't know that much. I haven't followed it super closely in the last like 6 to 12 months. So I followed it a lot at the
Well,
beginning and not a lot past that.
okay, well, I'll try not to be a cunt about it, but obviously, like when the first bombshells drop, and what is it? It's like January 20th of 2025, something like that.
Yeah, January
Um,
2025. Yeah.
Yeah, so basically those first bombshells drop and it's like he's a fucking pedophile and we need to crucify him and he should
Well,
go on the sex
I don't
offender
think I've ever
list.
seriously called him a pedophile. I don't think I've ever done that
He's
because
going to jail
I
and
don't.
he's
I
gonna
never
get
said he was
spit
going to
into the
jail. I've never
ground.
said that. I've never made statements about the outcome. That's not the case.
Okay. Well, there were some hyperbolic characters around that time who were making correlated statements where with okay, you might have never said those things, but they were saying those things correlated with your enthusiasm for Destiny catching a black eye. So I guess that's kind of my
Metaphorical,
thing.
to be
It's like,
clear, metaphorical.
okay. So that's kind of the thing though. But when I get told, he's a bad guy, he's going to jail, he's gonna get sued into the ground, et cetera, et cetera. And then so for instance, like with the Sherry case, I think I asked J Stock a couple of times ago when I talked to him. I was like, hey, have you heard any updates on the Sherry case? And of course I'm being a smug bitch about it. But the truth is that like if there was a criminal case going forward, I feel like we would have seen that by now. So
Yeah,
so that's
I
kind of where
honestly,
for
I honestly
me,
don't
it's
know. I
like
don't know about the
you
process
might
or what's
not.
going on, or so I've got no idea.
Yeah. You know that maybe even you did it. or but I'm sure Queefer did it at some point. You know, where they post the video where it's like they got your man's a sex offender. You know, like all that kind of
Hmm.
shit. Like it just doesn't feel like you guys are going to get your man's. So you know, I
Well, yeah, I don't think he's going to jail if that's what you mean. I don't think he's going to jail. I don't think that's
or
happening.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I'll
But I
leave it
mean,
up
the
to
reality is he, you know, he did commit the wrongdoing in terms of sharing Pixie's video. In terms of seemingly, obviously, we can't prove there was no consent. We can't prove the negative with these grinder recordings and the cherry stuff. It does seem the case. Um, you know, as far as getting your man's is to me, it's proving it. You know, that's when you're got is when it's proven, and the Pixie stuff is proven, and the other stuff is basically as good as there. To be honest, there's
sure.
not really a reasonable
And by
explanation.
the way, when or if they reach a settlement or if it gets dismissed, I'm not gonna fucking you're not gonna see me on Twitter like, oh, he's totally exonerated. Like, no, obviously he did something fucked up.
And the other thing is, I was
But
never delusional enough to think that this would sink his career either. That's the other thing. Obviously, you know,
okay,
no one online. The only way you get taken out online is if you do it yourself. Basically, you stop streaming or you embarrass yourself past what you can ever recover from. No one else can just prove you've done wrongdoing and take your audience from you. That's just not how anything has ever worked, really.
sure. That's part of the reason why I agreed to an interview about my divorce.
Sure, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
It's like what are you gonna do? You're gonna make fun of me for my personal life? Okay. Like it's not that big of a deal, guys. I'll survive. So
Okay, so I'm seeing some questions. So, do you play
sure.
Marathon?
I don't play Marathon, but I do think that the company Bungie, despite me disliking Destiny 2's narrative, I think they're really good at gunplay
That's very
mechanics.
true. That's very true. And I also hate Destiny's Law, so that's
Yeah.
totally agree on that. Um, someone asking, I think you answered at the start. Did Shamu in the Kandros docs? I think you answered at the start. Really didn't see.
I could
certain
answer it again
evidence.
real quick. The what they're trying to substantiate, and I think Kuihman will agree with this. What they're trying to substantiate is they're trying to substantiate that JStock, Kuihman, and commentary people who are critical of Destiny and Dan are in a Kiwi Farms incest snark like a piranha pool that is doxing, harassing, swatting people. And I don't think that's borne out based off of the evidence that's been provided so far.
Yeah, and you wouldn't say that what you saw from the Kandros and Shamu was doxing then?
No,
No.
and I do think that's an important distinction within the conversation. Is that you guys are saying like, okay, well, they're using PII tools, but if who was the guy who was actually on stream?
Shamu.
Shamu. So if Shamu is being serious with saying like, yeah, we were using personal identifying information tools in order to try to find this guy, but it was properly motivated by trying to expose Tectone on an alt harassing his ex.
Yeah, just to be clear,
I think
it
it's
wasn't
more,
you know, it wasn't just a small inaccuracies there that I just want to make sure we're 100% on because obviously
sure.
everyone's mad about this right now. It wasn't Tectone specifically necessarily. It was the account seemed to be linked to
Community member.
Tectone or his friends, and obviously Tectone has in the past coordinated with people seemingly to breach his protective order. So when there's
Yeah.
a suspicious account that seems to be doing that same thing, people are like, "Oh, okay, well, what's this? We should look into this." And it was never intended to be published. It was to be passed to Pink Chiu for her legal case. Not
Yeah,
to.
it's while I can agree with some people saying like, oh, well, you shouldn't touch the poo, you shouldn't get involved. It's hard to impugn that motive.
Yeah, I don't. You know, the don't touch a poo thing. That's a very KF mindset. To be honest, like Shamu
Yeah.
is not like a massive KF guy as far as I understand. I think he's like a kind of loosely right wing guy, but he just does documentaries on internet creators and stuff
Yeah.
like that,
So
and he
I'm
does all the
gonna
research
need
himself as
to
well. That's the thing. He doesn't actually reuse Kiwi Farms for his stuff because like the Tectone stuff, he had to file a bunch of FOIAs and all this stuff. I believe he's spoken to a lot of people involved, got on these sealed court documents. Some people had got to look at them, all this sort of stuff. Gone through all this, so he's really dug. So it was quite annoyed me personally seeing his credibility get dragged through the mud when he's done like a lot of good work going after Tectone for just things. In my
I'm still
opinion.
waiting. I'm still waiting for the Discord that's like, Jay stalking Kuihman in a text chat being like, "Hey, did you get did you get Steven's girlfriend's new address?" You know, that's what I'm looking for, and I haven't gotten that. So
Yeah. Cool. Cool. Right. So, okay. I guess I was, you said
you can ask Mimi questions,
you
even if
got
they're rude.
you got back with your girlfriend when you were 15. That's your new relationship. That's your
Yeah.
relationship. You know, has there been a lot of chat? Are they super different? Why were you? You know, I feel like if I look back at, I think of someone that I knew when I was 15. I didn't really know them past that. I would expect them to be like totally different. I wouldn't even know where to
Oh,
start with someone.
yeah, it's a brand new relationship. So yeah, sorry that this might be too wholesome for you guys. So when I was 15, I went to like a hip hop club for teenagers with this girl a couple of times. I bought her earrings for Christmas, and then we broke up. That was it. That's the totality of the relationship. So we actually like did not know each other that well. She could have been anybody. She could have been like a total fucking schizophrenic. But I saw her at the grocery store a couple of times over the past several years, and I thought she was cute, even though I was married, and so I didn't think anything of it. But then when I found out that I really did not like dating apps, I remembered that I saw her at the grocery store and I asked her out, and she's like a fundamentally good human being. And so I'm finding it difficult, like I said, I'm still a wife guy. I'm finding it difficult to find reasons why this relationship wouldn't work because she's a fundamentally good human being. But obviously, I'm only a few weeks out from my divorce, so I shouldn't be like making grand sweeping gestures. The only thing that you need to know is you don't need to know any of this shit. But I found a girl. She's very nice. She's my age. I'm not going to have a Destiny style sex capade. And she's very cool and she's a good person.
Okay. I think that's like, I think a lot of people just think that's like crazy that like, you like hit up some girl you knew when you were 15. It's like, you married? You still married? Are you single?
I know.
I think that comes off a little bit insane.
No, it was insane. It was insane because I saw her at the grocery store a few times, and she still had her ex's last name on her Facebook profile, but she didn't have any recent pictures with her ex for like a long time. So when I DM'd her at first, she thought that I was trying to like cheat on my wife.
Yeah.
So I was like, no, I recently got split. Can I take you for some coffee or some tea or a beer or something? And she was single, so she said yes.
Got you. Well, I
Yeah.
mean, glad
It's
this is
crazy.
working
I'm
out.
not denying its craziness. It's truly a crazy thing to do. I agree. It just worked.
Can you ask Connor whether or not this is a cynical ploy to have a carer on call for his autism?
It is.
Okay.
Like, okay, I'm joking. Like, I don't have diagnosable autism, but all of her skills that she uses in work are deeply admirable skills that are probably great for any relationship. Yeah,
Does
I
she
do think
know
that's some.
about the whole internet drama stuff? Have you told her about all this stuff yet? Or
Yes. So actually, I texted her yesterday because I was feeling guilty because everybody was covering the divorce shit. And I was like, God damn it. Like, I really do not want people to be like clipping my fucked up stream moments and DMing them to my girlfriend and then her having like no reference for how schizophrenic my world was. So I was like, hey, can we talk about how schizophrenic my world was or my world is? And we had a conversation. And so far, she says she's okay with it. We'll see if that stands the test of time.
okay. Oh, sorry. I'm just getting like breaking news coming. Apparently,
Go for it.
Ethan
You got
Klein.
Mimi fucked up questions. I was expecting more fucked up shit. Go for it.
Ethan Klein is currently posting about that fucking Discord server his Instagram stories. So that's
I'm
how
sure
far
he
this is traveling right now, which is just like
I'm sure he is.
I guess I'll get some of your
Sorry,
thoughts on this. What's your so the reason why obviously the server is called the Snark Left. That's what he's posted on his Instagram story. Obviously it's a deliberate owning of this term snark that Ethan has used to describe all of his critics, anyone going after him, and claim that snark is like this this evil harassment that needs to be stopped. When it's really a humorous word to use for that. It's like kind of silly to be crying that snark is ruining your life.
How do
So
you feel as a Jew?
how do I feel as a Jew about Ethan Klein?
Yeah. Well, how do you feel
Terrible
that, like,
representation.
listen,
That's what
I
I
get
feel.
it. You're like an anti-Zionist Jew, but how do you feel about the fact that like Dan Saltman and Ethan Klein are being like super litigious and using
Yes, it
backdoor
makes us look fucking terrible. It makes
institutional
Jews look fucking
power
terrible.
to
It makes Jews
silence
look
critics?
fucking atrocious. Yes, they're doing the stereotype, conspiracy, anti-Semitic Jew thing every day. That's just that's who they are. They are a Jewish stereotype.
Okay.
Obviously, Nick Andros tweeted at Dan the other day. I swear I'm not anti-Semitic. I just assumed all Jews were like Diddy Dan.
If I can share, Kilo, I did review Kilo Tonic's video on stream. I did feel like the very last chapter was sweepy for Hassan Piker, but I found myself having difficulty criticizing the earlier chapters on all of the creators because the argument wasn't Hassan good. The argument was look at the bad behavior of these creators. And so I realized that like I can't sweep for that shit, so I just didn't. So Kilo made a shout out to Kilo. He did make a strong video.
So, well, I guess let's get some of your broader thoughts on that. So, the sort of snark narrative thing, the whole thing is laid out in sort of the first hour and a half of that video with Ethan. What's your take on that? Did any of that, so like, did you have a different impression of that drama before you watched that video? Did that change your mind on anything?
Yes.
Because I know a lot of people sort of, the way they see it, this is basically the narrative that I think most people sort of have in their head about this drama is, Ethan was upset about October 7th, and just because he expressed he was upset about October 7th, Hassan's chat started going crazy because they hate him for being Jewish, and Hassan wouldn't do anything about it. And then the moment Ethan is crying about it, Hassan starts attacking him and makes it all worse, and everyone's going after Ethan, and Denims is responsible for the CPS, and Bad Empanada is evil, and no one should ever associate with him, and we'd never do anything like that. You know, that's sort of the narrative that gets spun. So was that sort of your view? I'm obviously that's a bit of a straw man. I'm sure you wouldn't take that 100%.
No. That relatively speaking, that is the tepid Zionist view. Is look at Ethan Klein. Oh, boo-hoo, he's getting attacked. Which, you know, like I still feel like he can feel like he's being vilified on the internet. And I think that's probably true. And there probably are some anti-Semitic people in there. But at the same time, you know, I hate to say this, but like, if he did shut the fuck up about the issue and kind of moved on with his content, then it probably wouldn't be anywhere near as bad.
Yeah.
But instead, he was like, no, I'm going to monomaniacally focus on Hassan, his Orbit, and iDubbbz and Anissa Joma, and I'm just going to milk the fuck out of them for the next 2 years. And I thought what Kilo did that was really good is he chronologized the escalations of the conflict, where effectively Ethan was, obviously CPS is like the main talking point, and the skulls.
But it comes in relatively late in the timeline. Really, it's like,
well, and that's what's interesting is so like he started the very aggressive criticism of Hassan and his Orbit prior to the harassment that he uses as justification for his very aggressive criticism of
and obviously the trap for the content was laid before the CPS call. It was everything was in motion to do all this stuff anyway before any of that happened.
So your people setting up little
backdoor traps,
propagandistic mind games.
That's it.
It was good. It was funny. Shout out to my Jews. I do love my Jews. I'll defend you next stream. I just think Ethan Klein's being funny.
And I did hear you say, that you felt like, Kilo kind of got Diorio's number, with that Diorio segment. Or you said that...
I like Diorio's content, but I can't unsee what's been shown. And what's been shown is effectively like a willful ignorance. And I don't even think ignorance is the right term, but I think you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's
avoided the evidence deliberately. Yeah.
Yes, there's a willful ignorance of Ethan Klein's negative behavior, and then there's also a willful ignorance of Turkey Tom's age play allegations. And he got mad at Chud for saying that he was sweeping, and then he swept. And it's like, bro, like you can't get mad at somebody for saying that you're going to sweep and then sweep. That's not how that works.
Yeah.
So I think he's just using his audience size, knowing that it'll be difficult for any of his critics to penetrate his audience. I think he's relying on that to never address shit.
Yeah, I would. I mean, obviously, I agree. Obviously, I agree. But yeah, man, I'm glad you do. Man, I
He
wonder if
makes
there's
good
anywhere else
content.
to go
He
with
does
this.
the successful streaming VOD content
My wife
of
wants me to
watching
get a
something for
cheesy
5 minutes,
tattoo. I
pausing
don't
every
want
5 minutes,
to.
saying
Should
why
I
it's
leave
stupid
her
for
and
30
run through
seconds, and
damaged
then
women on
shutting up
Tinder?
and then doing that ad
Appreciate your
nauseum
advice.
for tons of money. And God bless him in that regard. But I think that, those clips, obviously, those clips are a few years old where he's like, the worst thing you can do. The worst thing you can do is dox and harass people. The worst thing you can do is go after people's sponsors. It's like, okay, if you don't feel that way anymore, explain how.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So Doobie sent $20 to ask, my wife wants me to get a cheesy tattoo. I don't want to. Should I leave her and run through damaged women on Tinder? Appreciate your advice.
Chibi?
Cheesy tattoo. Cheesy tattoo.
Oh, I think it depends on the tattoo. I think you got to do it.
Okay, you have to get like the tattoo of your wife's face, like Ethan did. You have to get the
Oh no,
the
not her
portrait,
wife's
the
face.
portrait of
It
Hila.
depends on the tattoo.
Okay.
Depends on the tattoo. Hold on. Let me treat that as if it was serious, even though I know that it's not serious. Doobie should be financially well off enough that he takes such good care of his wife that if his wife wants him to do something stupid, he should be able to tell her no and put his foot down.
Okay,
So
got you. That makes sense. That makes sense. So Babka in chat here is asking, when was the last time you cried?
February.
February. Okay.
Yeah.
I assume related to the divorce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were some there were some tearful moments, but we.
I don't think anyone's seriously like begrudging you crying. They might make fun of you, but I don't think anyone really, if they really
No, dude,
they'd probably
like,
cry if they got fucking divorced too. Let's be serious.
Yeah, that's life, bro. Sometimes life is gonna suck. What are you gonna do?
Okay. Any other questions from chat? Anything else we wanna talk about, or are we sort of wrapping up here? Oh, press him on the cool dad thing. Yeah, you wanting to present yourself as the cool dad, be the cool dad.
Turn off the sub and Dono notifs, you emaciated nerd.
Okay, they're telling me to
This
sub
is worse than a
notifs.
Tim Houthi interview. Also, don't let Bobka bully this man into crying on stream like she loves doing.
Is there a different way that criticism can be articulated so I can contend with it?
So I think what people are getting at is it's often seen, presented as, viewed as quite almost like an immature thing to do to try and be the more popular parent with your kids in the co-parenting situation. I think most people see that as like unhealthy thing to go about.
No, it could be, and I'm trying to dial it in, by the way. So I know because there's that stereotype, right? Like you just like let your kids do whatever the fuck they want. That way they think you're cool or whatever. I understand that's a stereotype. But like, they eat vegetables, they fucking brush their teeth every single night. We read books. So like the big things are still happening, but I am, you got my fucking number if you think that I'm trying to be the cool dad. But I'm trying to be the cool dad because I think that like boys do need a little bit of anarchy. And so the household is anarchic. Like they come in like Tasmanian devils. They fuck up my common area. They spread their toys everywhere. They play in the dirt. They run around, all that kind of shit. But I remember my childhood, and despite my parents being pretty strict, we were allowed to do stuff like that as well because we were boys. So I will take it if somebody like hears that and they cringe a little bit because they're worried like you're trying too hard to win your kids' love and you will not be disciplined enough to raise good kids. I'll meditate on that and try to balance it out.
Okay, Doobie for $20 follows up with, I refused to get a prenup because it felt icky. Am I kirked?
Yeah.
Okay.
Didn't you?
Simple answer.
Didn't you say he has this quote that he says sometimes. It's like, "I am burdened with glorious purpose" or whatever. And we've only talked about it a little bit, but I think his glorious purpose was working really hard for 20 years so he could retire at a young age with a substantial amount of money. Yeah, if you were burdened with glorious purpose and your wife wants you to get a dumb fuck tattoo and you don't have a prenup and she's gonna throw a fucking hissy fit, you have to balance out, putting your foot down in a reasonable way and the happiness of your wife. And clearly I don't know the balance between those two things. So you probably shouldn't ask me. so, so good luck, motherfucker.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
How do you feel? I suppose. How do you feel about the new lawsuit threats from Ethan? How do you feel about the iDub stuff?
Oh yeah, what the fuck? So sorry, this is part of the shit where I can't unsee it. So Destiny
Said that Ethan molested his
alluded
kids. Yeah.
said Destiny said that Ethan molested his kids, and then iDub brought it up like, or iDubbbz, at least this is the way that it was characterized in the commentary content that I was watching. iDubbbz brought it up like, oh haha, isn't Destiny so crazy? And now he's suing iDubbbz.
Yeah. Basically, it was like he brought it up to say like the point iDubbbz was making is that Ethan's too much of a pussy to go after Destiny, so he won't like respond to or address that chat message in the same way he would do it with everyone else. So iDubbbz sort of brought it up on screen because Ethan was reacting to a lot of his content that time. iDubbbz scrolled down the Snark subreddit, pulled it up, said, "Oh, I think this is very interesting. This is a very interesting allegation. I think someone should address." And then he puts it on his screen as like a watermark for the rest of the stream, so that if Ethan tries to look at his stream, it will be on Ethan's screen too. Is basically the idea.
Okay, so hold up. My fucking issue with that is straight up, like, I know you're like an anti-religious fella, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So if you look at I'll try to be as brief as I can. If you look at the Old Testament, the Jew book, right? The
Yep.
Torah, they basically have this, we talked about barbarian retributive violence and eye for an eye. You
Yep.
and I have talked about that in the past.
Yep.
And that's just like the law of the land. Eye for an eye is better than barbarian retributive violence, but there's still plenty of barbarian retributive violence in the Torah. I think that turning the other cheek, I was raised Christian. While I'm not a Christian literalist, I think it's a better way to live, both for society and for individuals. And the fact that Ethan Klein cannot turn the other cheek, I think is actually like a moral failing on his part.
Got you. Okay.
And society would be
well,
better.
I suppose
if
past that, how do you feel about sort of like the implications for speech, online content, with this sort of stuff getting thrown around? Do you have any strong opinions about that? Do you think it's like, this stuff should be happening?
So actually, I actually thought about debating Pisco on this, but we'll see. So fair use should be better defined than it's currently defined right now. I share your anxiety because I've watched some of your content on this. I share your anxiety that if it's narrowly defined, it could totally fuck up the YouTube ecosystem, and therefore it's not worth the risk. That being said, I think Denims has the most defensible lawsuit position. I hope that Hassan, and even though I don't like these people, trust me, I really, really do not like these people. I hope that Denims goes the distance and sets court precedent, and I hope that she wins. Because if she wins, where spoken intent doesn't matter, sufficient transformation is what matters, and we get some case law on that, that could actually be phenomenal.
I think that's already
if
pretty much established. I think the bigger issue, honestly, is the idea that it could set the standard that if you use someone's work in full live, that's not allowed, and that's a specific thing that's not allowed, just using it in full, a full airing of it. And I think that would be the bigger problem, because obviously it feels like you're in sort of like a catch-22 a lot of the time, where it's not fair use if you react to the whole thing, but if you don't react to all of it, they'll say it's out of context.
I think the YouTube ecosystem will probably still do okay in spite of that, just because it feels like a lot of online creators are more lackadaisical with their copyright shit.
Sure.
However, I do understand your exact fear that effectively, like, cry bullies will use that as leverage to silence their critics.
Yeah. Yeah. So. Okay. Well, I mean, we're on the same page about all that, sounds like then. So.
Yeah, free speech is more important. Okay. I'm not a free speech absolutist. However, freedom of speech and freedom of conscience is more important than rich people's hurt feelings.
For sure. For sure. Ask him about Mamdani and El Sayed. Oh yeah, are you on the El Sayed is a massive liar train, or are you on the other side of that?
I haven't seen what El Sayed allegedly lied about, but I am hostile to the new wave of progressive democratic socialists that are coming in.
Did you read Dan
obviously.
Saltman's free press article about El Sayed?
No, I didn't. Although I'm happy for him and proud of him that now he's a member of the Associated Press. Good for him.
What do you think of that? What do you think about writing for the free press with all the, Paramount acquisition stuff that happened last year and all this sort of shit? What do you think about writing for the free press? Do you think that's like something an upstanding American citizen does, or?
Listen, I've done some anti-Semitic memes this conversation, but like, can you understand that I'm out here and I'm not getting paid by Mossad and I'm doing my honest goyim best to sweep for like the tepid Zionist two-state solution? And do you know how hard it is when like a Jewish person who is clearly not qualified takes over like a media wing of the American mainstream media,
Yep.
and then another random Jewish guy just gets to publish his own fucking article on said
and
website.
It's all controlled by one of the richest Jewish guys in the world who has a bunch of surveillance companies.
I'm literally out here. I'm sweeping for the Jews as hard as I can, and they keep making it really hard. So if they could chill the fuck out, that would be great.
Okay, so not a fan of the free press stuff, not a fan of
Southern Lebanon. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. So not a fan of the free press stuff, not a fan of people aligning with those types to get their
hold on.
work done, or
I am a fan of there being a free market for expression and Jews amongst many ethnic religious groups being that is expressing their political ideas, within that market. However, what I think you can't do is you can't buy a media outlet, start expressing Zionist perspective and or hacking people and not expect to attack you back. Like what's good for the good for the gander. So you do achieve a plurality, a diversity of opinion fucking discourse, that'll be amazing. But you can't throw shit and expect shit not to be thrown back. And I think that's what people are frustrated with.
Sure. Yeah, I think so. I think also I just kind of take issue with like, someone like Dan who wants to present like he's this, liberal who hates Trump and all this stuff, but then he'll go and team up with people like Barry Weiss who are like totally willing to, show it. It just feels a bit like, come on, let's stick to, I've had conversations with people in the past where they say things like, oh, well, you have to win. You have to play the game. And I basically say to them, it's not winning at all if you betray what you're fighting for in doing so.
Well, see, that's what I think is so funny about your comments about Dan, because you're like, this is 6 months to a year ago, or even a few years ago at this point, but you're like, I love Dan because he lies, but he's so open with his naked self-interest.
Well, it's easy. It's like, it's easier to address them when they do that, if you know what I mean. It's if someone's just going to say, I'm a liar.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that, because I found Dan's argument that he put that this person is unrelated, therefore he was not trying to make it look worse than it was. I saw that as possible, but not probable. Are you of the opinion, because when you read it out loud, it actually sounded fucking horrible. Are you of the opinion that all those like redactions or whatever were intended for maximum rhetorical effect?
I do think they massaged that for maximum rhetorical
when he blanked
effect.
Out Noboru, he's like, ha ha ha, fuck these motherfuckers.
Not necessarily. I think they just wanted to redact it all, and they used the term like they didn't say OSINT service, did they? They said docs tool, right? That it's a very the wording they've chosen for stuff. They're not just using like, what you would expect. They are trying to make it sound as bad as possible when they're sharing it, basically.
Yeah. As an earnest human being, I have difficulty spotting cunning. So that's funny.
Yeah, I do feel that way. I feel like that just lines up with all of Dan's previous actions, to be honest. But hey. Okay. Oh, Doobie coming in again feels like a character of stereotypes in the same way Rabbi Shmuley is, TBH. Yeah, I don't think anyone's going to massively disagree with you on that, Doobie.
But Doobie takes it too far, in my opinion. He just like, he's like, oh yeah, ergo, like, therefore, because Zionists exist, they want to claim all the territory between the Eastern Nile and the Western Euphrates, and I just don't think that's going to be geopolitically possible. So I think Doobie is earnest in his anti-Zionist criticism. I do think he takes it too far.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay. Well, I don't know if I've got much else. I don't know if there's anything else you want to talk about, or.
Okay. Well, it was fun having a chat where you weren't calling me a coward and a bitch, and I wasn't calling you or I wasn't threatening sexual assault on you. So that was a nice change of pace.
Yep.
Yeah, well, let's do it again sometime. So
Yeah, sounds
if there's a topic in contention that you want to fight about, just shoot me a DM. We'll do it. And then if there's something that I feel you're off on, I'll shoot you a DM.
You've got loads of time now as well, so I expect to see you on JStalk streams late at night, up until 4 a.m. That's what I'm expecting from you, Connor, now. So
listen, I'm not like totally opposed to talking to, the quote unquote snarkers or whatever, but like, you guys don't make it easy either.
What do you mean we don't make it easy? How do you not make it easy? What do you mean?
So for example, when you were talking to Destiny today, I never thought that I would see you and Destiny in a room together ever again. So it was almost a treat to have Chud Logic, Kuihman, Destiny, and Dan Saltman in the same room again. It felt like the good old days. But didn't you call him like a felching fucking retard or some shit like that?
I said a lot of things.
Right. So I don't want anybody who doesn't know what felching is to Google it. But that's very clearly such an upsetting insult. I mean, Destiny probably doesn't care, but it's such an upsetting
I think he probably cared about the
insult
last one, to be honest, but
But if I ever called somebody a felcher, I wouldn't expect to speak to them again, right?
Sure. Well, but I mean, that's obviously with Destiny, I do genuinely fucking hate Destiny. I felt that guy just done horrendous shit to me and people I like.
But like, yeah. So hold on. This is actually something that I do.
But sorry, just to finish. But for most people, there's like a little bit of kayfabe. It's like. It's not kayfabe in the sense I'm only doing it for the public, because I do it in private too. Like I like shouting at people, but it's not like I'm conveying a genuine, fully negative emotion to that person every time. Like I'll tell Beckett that he needs to be strung up and shit like this, but I don't genuinely mean that. And me and Beckett, we know that ultimately we're still cool at the end of the day. That's the way it's approached.
Does Becky know that?
Yeah. We always have this little aftercare session whenever we shout at each other. He's like,
okay, all right, fair enough. Okay, so hold on. Let me articulate this. I'll try to be brief. For the sake of content, I typically want to say yes to almost anyone who says, "Hey, I got a bone to pick. Let's talk about it."
Yeah.
Okay. But when people approach me, and obviously, I don't have a wife anymore to worry about this with, but I do have a girlfriend. If she is over and she hears "you felching fucking retard," I'm gonna have to explain that later. So we gotta find the balance.
Okay, got you. So it's just like it's you don't like the toxic image of that space. Is that what you're saying?
I love it. For me, not a big deal.
You don't see the toxic image as beneficial to you and can cause problems in your personal life. That's what you're saying.
Thank you for perfectly articulating what I was scratching at.
Okay, got you. I'm with you. Okay.
Well, you have a good night, bud. Catch you in another 6 months, and we'll scream at each other then.
All right. Catch you later, man. Thanks for coming on.
Bye.
Catch you later.
Yep. Bye.
Wow, guys. What a great talk.